Good evening, everyone. We're going to start this City of Jasper Planning Commission meeting for November 25th, 2025. Sam, if you will please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is to adopt the agenda for tonight. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor? Aye. The agenda is adopted. Second is to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read over them? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
A second.
I will second.
Okay, I'll be everybody in favor. Minutes approved. Let's go to some before I forget. All right, so the first item of business is new business. It's item 1. Discuss a request by applicant David Shouse of Rainy Day Development LLC, the owner of approximately 6 700 acres, zone C2 general commercial, located approximately 1,725 feet west of the southwest corner of West Church Street and Highway 515 South, known as Parcel 041062, to be de-annexed from the City of Jasper and annexed into the Pickens County for future commercial development under Pickens County House Bill Highway Business Zoning. Is anyone here to represent Rainy Day Development? If you will please come forward to the podium, state your name.
David Shouse, one of the members, managing member of Rainy Day Development. I wasn't going to speak long tonight. However, I do think that I need to go on the record so in the future, when the citizens of Pickens County and citizens of City of Jasper start asking questions of why and what's going on this property, they have a little backstory. I should be before you guys asking you to annex an additional 38 acres into the city. Instead, I'm forced to request a de-annexation. I've just probably spent about $4 million accumulating multiple parcels over here. The City of Jasper has failed to serve the very taxpayers who have supported this community for decades. The city has prioritized large outside corporations while neglecting local landowners who have consistently paid taxes with the expectation of basic services such as water and sewer. Years of poor planning and mismanagement left the city unprepared for growth. When that growth arrived, the capacity funded by long-time taxpayers like myself was allocated to new corporate developments. Despite repeated inquiries and requests, I've been told there is no sewer available for this property. Ironically, sewer lines, unbeknownst probably to some of the people sitting in this room, are already installed on the property, including the housings and assemblage for a pump station that were never allowed to be connected. If I am forced to design and install a septic system, why should the city continue collecting property taxes from me? The city offers me nothing right now. The city claims it needs to expand its tax base, but its actions are driving away a proposed $20 to $25 million development that I'm funding on these parcels. All I can say is that the local taxpayers and the people who have been paying for all this infrastructure for years deserve better. Because of the reasons I pointed out, I've got no choice but to seek this de-annexation.
Thank you. Did you have the staff presentation?
Yeah, sorry, good evening, members of the commission. So again, the first item that we have before you is a de-annexation request by applicant David Shouse of Rainy Day Development. Mr. Shouse is here requesting to de-annex approximately 6 acres of property located a little over a quarter-mile west of the southwest corner of West Church Street, or Highway 53, and Highway 515 in the south. So the subject property is approximately 6 acres in size and is currently zoned City of Jasper C2 General Commercial. As you can see on the aerial here, the property is undeveloped, therefore it is not served currently by city utilities. However, it is worth noting that even if it is de-annexed, the property will remain in the city's service delivery area for water. As Mr. Shouse stated, he does intend to develop the property in the coming years under the Pickens County Highway Business Zoning. Mr. Shouse, as he also stated, owns additional properties in the immediate vicinity. And so that these can be developed as a cohesive development, he essentially needs to de-annex his parcel from the city so that he can assemble the parcels of the county and proceed under the county's development regulations. So this is a map depicting the existing city and county boundaries. As you can see, de-annexation of Mr. Shouse's property as requested will not result in the creation of a city island. Mr. Shouse's parcels, if assembled in the future, will remain contiguous with both the city and the county, so that if he at some point did want to potentially ever re-annex, he would have the availability to potentially do so, in accordance, obviously, with our local laws as well as state statute. So the city zoning ordinance does not have approval criteria for de-annexations, but given that this does not create an island and it's being requested in accordance with state statute, staff is recommending approval of the de-annexation request. I'd also like to note that the Pickens County Board of Commissioners voted to accept the parcel upon de-annexation at their formal meeting on November 17th. And then it's just worth noting that re-annexation, if ever sought in the future, would be required to be in accordance with state statute with respect to contiguity. So that means at least 50 linear feet of the property would have to abut the city boundary, as well as the required waiting period, which is 2 years. State statute requires that you wait 2 years to re-annex if you de-annex. Again, I would say Mr. Shouse has not indicated that he intends to re-annex, but I do just want to state that for the record. And then finally, since this is a de-annexation, staff did not recommend any conditions as that parcel will be leaving the city. But then, however, if he does re-annex in the future, it would be subject to city law and state statute. So with that concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
I just have one question. So Dave, the rationale that you gave was a little bit different than the rationale that Elizabeth gave on why you want de-annex. So I just want to make sure we're all clear. She said it was to group so you could actually develop under different zoning with properties? Or
My first sentence was, I should be either asking you to annex an additional, I closed today on the other 30 acres next to
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
So I should have been asking you guys to annex in my other parcels, which would have been preference, but I can't sit on this land any longer without answers from the city, so therefore I need to move forward with my plans so my family can eat.
I got you. Okay. But
If you go back one page, am I to assume the parcels that have the stars are the parcels that belong to Mr. Shouse?
Yes, in addition to the one highlighted in teal. And then Mr. Shouse, did you acquire additional property?
Required reuse today. We finally
So
closed.
is that sort of to the south and west of your property there?
The big parcel to the left of the bottom star,
Okay.
kind of like I don't even know what shape that is, but
Yes.
So the bigger one?
yeah, about 38. Yeah, I think it is 26.41, I think.
Okay, the one that's not right on the corner, or the one that's on the corner?
So the bottom star, the property immediately to the left of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Reeves is 26.81.
Correct.
It's off of Hyde Road.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Is that Hyde Road over there? Is that road? Or is that just there they live?
That's high road.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there is Hyde Road. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Also, in your packet, it said that the property is currently and will remain within the city's water service delivery area. How does that affect his business with our current water situation? How does that work out if he's in the county, if he's going to be in the county, but still within the city's water and sewer?
So I understand that Mr. Shouse does have some meters. I won't totally speak to that, but I will say our standard process right now for any applicant that's in a position similar to Mr. Shouse's is that you would have to submit a water service request form that would be processed by our deputy city manager, Kim Goldner, and that is reviewed by the city council. So if he needs additional meters, then that would be his process, but I'm not totally sure of his specific situation, so I don't want to say for certain that he would have to go through that process, but that is our standard process while we're in the suspension.
Okay. So it would need to go right to council?
Yes,
If
but
you
it's not,
see
it's not in the public hearing forum. It's a separate decision that's made, but it would not have to go to council in a public hearing forum like this.
Okay.
It's not there.
Do I hear a recommendation?
I will make the motion to approve this applicant's request to de-annex from the city of Jasper to be annexed into Pickens County.
I'll make a second. All those in favor?
That's it.
Sounds like the approval for de-annexation, this particular property has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Shouse.
As do you. Before we go any further, I just want to remind the public that we just sort of make a recommendation to the city commissioners, and our votes are not binding in any way. We just sort of give recommendations. Okay? We'll start on item 2. Discuss a request by applicant David Terry of Gateway Commercial LLC, the owner of approximately 2.22 acres zoned PUD Planned Unit Development located at 319 Mountain Boulevard South, Parcel 053B080001 for a special use permit to allow for a drive-thru restaurant on the property. The request special use permit will accommodate the development of a drive-thru restaurant with a planned commercial shopping center on the property. Is anyone here, Mr. Terry, would you like to speak on behalf of this?
No, not on the drive-through.
Okay, so,
All right, okay, so the next item is a request by applicant and property owner Dave Terry of Gateway Commercial LLC for a special use permit to allow for a drive-through restaurant within the Gateway Master Plan community. So the subject property is approximately 2.25 acres in size and is located within the Gateway PUD. I'm sure from prior hearings you're kind of getting familiar with this property. Last month we had a special use permit request for a different parcel within the commercial development phase here. As you can see on the map, and as we previously discussed, a portion of the center has already been developed. So Mr. Terry will be taking down the northern approximately third of the center. Just as a refresher, this overall property is planned as a mixed-use shopping center with drive-thru and sit-down restaurants, retail, office, and personal care uses, and it will be branded as the Gateway. So surrounding uses include the Lodge of Jasper assisted living to the north, which is also within the same PUD. To the east, across Highway 515 South, we have North Georgia Grading. To the south, there is the existing 2-story professional office building within the commercial development phase. And then to the west, we have independent living cottages that are a part of the same master plan. So Mr. Terry is here this evening requesting a special use permit to allow for a drive-thru restaurant in the southern end cap suite of his building. So in the C2 district, as we've discussed, drive-thrus do require a special use permit, and this is to ensure compatibility with the surrounding land use patterns, as well as the surrounding traffic pattern. I've included a copy of the latest site plan for Mr. Terry's development phase here for your review. As you can see, the drive-thru will be accessed from the north or west sides of the property, and it will wrap the southwest corner of the building. The queue will be able to accommodate approximately 6 cars, and this will be planned as your typical drive-thru with a menu board order point and then a pickup window. Mr. Terry has not formally confirmed his end user, but it's anticipated that this will be like a coffee, breakfast kind of drive-thru use. So as part of staff's special use permit analysis, we looked to the Pickens County Joint Comprehensive Plan for the property's land use designation. This property is designated as part of the Jasper Arterial Commercial Corridor, which supports a mix of highway-oriented land uses. And staff believes that Mr. Terry's proposal is consistent with this land use designation by providing a convenient drive-through use at the intersection or very close to the intersection of 2 major regional thoroughfares. So based on staff's analysis of the special use permit criteria contained in our zoning ordinance, as well as the joint comprehensive plan, staff is recommending approval subject to conditions. As you may recall from Mr. Elias' special use permit last month, we do have a few conditions on this, but they're really just here to ensure that we're mitigating any potential incompatibility that this use might have with the adjacent residential. So with that, development is subject to the city site plan review process, which Mr. Terry intends to begin here shortly. The configuration of the drive-thru shall be consistent with what was represented in the application. Hours of operation are limited from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. The drive-through shall include a bypass lane. That's actually not going to be the case on this one. We're just going to require that that the primary queuing lane is 12 feet wide. The site will, just because of how it's laid out, have to have a natural bypass, but the drive-through won't have a specific bypass lane. So we'll correct that for the ordinance. The drive-through shall have a maximum 9-foot clearance. An awning or other similar weather protection shall be provided at the pickup window, again, to ensure comfort and safety of employees and patrons. A minimum of 40 feet of stacking shall be provided between the drive-through entry and the order point. This is just to ensure that maneuvering can continue around the drive-through. Striping and signage shall be provided at pedestrian crossings. I do believe a pedestrian crossing is proposed within the drive-through to facilitate trash turnout. So we just want to ensure that that's striped and clear for the patrons of the drive-through. Measures shall be implemented to mitigate any trespass or cooking odors. Site lighting shall be mitigated to avoid any light trespass onto adjoining properties. Speakers for the drive-through shall not be audible from nearby residential development. A business license is required prior to opening. Signage is not approved under the special use permit. A separate sign permit will be required. And then finally, just an acknowledgement of our ongoing temporary suspension. Although, as we've previously discussed with other projects within this development, that this development is moving forward as it was approved prior to the suspension coming in place. So with that concludes my presentation.
Are all the 14 of those exactly the same as what we approved in the last, with the exception of number 4?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the only thing that will change is obviously he doesn't have a true bypass lane. So that's memorialized in the draft approval ordinance. And Mr. Terry, do you have any questions or comments on these?
Not on the drive-through.
Okay.
So these are the question of this really is the same thing we did last week. It's in the property.
I was just making sure because if we approve this, we're going off what are on the recommendations that are on the screen. I notice the packet that we have in front of me does not have the bypass lane mentioned.
Yes, I'm sorry, that was a scrivener's error in my presentation. So
Okay.
just note that staff's recommendation does not require a bypass lane. And as I stated, the draft approval ordinance does not reflect a bypass lane.
That's go best. Do you have a picture or a graphic of where the property that we approved last month compared to this month?
I can show you, it's in the latter part of my presentation with respect to the variance, but
Minutes.
Any question?
so Mr. Terry, you can see where I've highlighted the drive-through. We've got the existing 2-story commercial building in between the two. And then the other drive-through is basically at the southernmost point of that property. So that's the end cap suite on that additional building.
All right. Thank you.
It's a very similar layout.
Okay.
And I'd just like to state also, we've been working with Mr. Terry to make sure that we have this consistent flow through there. If you go back to that one drawing, if you don't mind, Ellie. I'm sorry, the main one, the big one. So if you see how Mr. Elias drive-through is they're also flowing the same way so that you can have clear delineation whether you're going north or south.
Okay.
So you're not going to have any conflicts. Mr. Terry has been very willing to work with us in making sure that we can lock down this good conformance to make sure that this is a not only vehicular but pedestrian friendly area right there because we're expecting a lot of people. Mr. Terry's taken a lot of time and energy into the thought process of this development, taking into consideration alternate modes of transportation such as golf carts, bikes, and all of those items as well. So a lot of thought has gone into this layout to get to where we are now. So I think we have a really good project coming forward.
Take it. Any other questions? Dallas? Right. I will make a motion to approve with the 14 stated conditions.
I will second.
Everyone in favor? The committee approves item number 2 with all conditions.
I'm sorry, if you just find just 1 second. We should ask if the people can.
Is there anyone else in the room would like to ask questions or make comments about this item? I do. So we'll redo that.
Nope, you're good.
We're good? Okay.
Perfect.
All right. All right, let's move on to item 3. Discuss a request by applicant David Terry of Gateway Commercial LLC, the owner of approximately 2.22 acres zoned PUD Planned Urban Development located at 319 Mountain Boulevard South, Parcel 053D080001, for a variance to the City of Jasper zoning ordinance, section 94-119, table 94-119, minimize off-street parking requirements by use to reduce the vehicle parking requirement for a planned shopping center under 400,000 square feet from 127 spaces based on a ratio of 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross leasable area to 108 spaces. The requested variance will accommodate the development of a planned commercial shopping center on the property. Mr. Terry, do you have anything you would like to say about this particular project?
So just to preface, thanks for the opportunity to speak on this. I did want to make a few points on parking for the record. So to preface, just wanted to thank the Planning and Zoning Department. As Mary said, we've had a lot of back and forth trying to work in a collaborative way to come to some kind of happy medium that satisfies just the overall vision as well as the existing ordinances and zoning that are in place. So parking reform is something that I'm really passionate about. And as David mentioned, the vote really tonight isn't just for this development, it's for the next generation as well, because parking is going to be a major issue, not just for Jasper, but really as the area grows and expands. I think there's going to be a lot more discussion about this. So why this reduction is so important is the vision for this has always been to be a community center, to create a more walkable, active environment. That's number one. Number two, I'm a firm believer that we don't want more strip centers and things that look like corporate parking lots. So if we have an opportunity in a community-focused development to reduce the parking ratio, to have less asphalt and more green space, that's really important. It also helps improve stormwater and water runoff when you have less parking. So it's just the more environmentally responsible thing to do. It's also proven through numerous studies that we can set commercial tenants up for greater success by having a more dense center overall. So this reduction would create, I strongly feel, a more vibrant and thriving place. And really, it becomes a destination and an experience that I think is desperately needed on Highway 515 particularly. The other point I want to flag is this is part of an overall 5-acre parcel. So there are other independent developers, one of whom you've heard from last month at the Planning Commission, Barry Elias as well, that are working in a collaborative way to try to create the best experience for the residents and the community as a whole. So that's important because there's no walls, there's no fencing separating, delineating between the independent developments. So, we are going to have an agreement in place that allows for shared parking across the center. So that's important. Just if there are pop-up events or grand openings that might require peak traffic capacity or parking capacity, we would be able to share parking across the center. And the sixth thing that, the final point that Mary alluded to is that with having less parking, we think that having more flexibility is the future for alternative forms of transportation. We want to, again, encourage walking, golf carts, bicycles, have a pet-friendly environment, crosswalks, and by having less parking and more density, we encourage that in a very, public way as a community. So those are the reasons why I think that this vote tonight, again, is so critical, because it really sets a precedence for how we want to think creatively and innovate for future requests like this. So thank you.
Thanks. All right.
That's what,
Okay, so same property that we were just discussing for the special use permit, so I'll spare you rehashing that. But again, Mr. Terry is here to request a variance to reduce the required parking from 127 spaces based on approximately 25,400 square feet of leasable area to 108 spaces. Our city standard, just so you know, for a plain shopping center like this, if it's under 400,000 square feet, is 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet of leasable area. With Mr. Terry's proposed reduction, he'll be providing about 5 spaces per 1,175 square feet of leasable area. As Mr. Terry stated, and he's actually furnished a draft of the shared parking agreement, but he's pretty much 99% there, I would say, on a shared parking agreement between his property, the existing 2-story office building, and then Mr. Elias's property. So this is the master site plan for the overall center. A total of 232 parking spaces are provided across the center. The existing 2-story office building has approximately 40 spaces that will be available, especially during evening peak times, because the current use mix in there is all very kind of office-centric. And then the southernmost development parcel, Mr. Elias's parcel, is going to provide 84 spaces, which is actually 24 more spaces than are required by our ordinance. So that parcel is overparked. Another important point I'd like to make, I think Mr. Terry alluded to this as well, is, the visitors to the center are not going to be able to perceive the property lines. So, the goal is that, people will be able to park, and because of the pedestrian connections that are provided on site, we'll be able to treat this like a true mixed-use development and easily, get in between the parcels. So when we evaluate a variance request, we look to the criteria in section 94.210 of our zoning ordinance. The first criteria is that exceptional conditions pertain to the property due to its size, shape, or topography. Staff believes this is met as the subject property was platted in its current size with the understanding that this would be a commercial mixed-use development with shared parking. Therefore, less lot area was reserved to contemplate all parking being provided on site. The second criteria is that application of the ordinance to this property would result in an unnecessary hardship. Staff believes that this is met, again, because this property was platted as part of a mixed-use commercial center that is already partially developed. The third criteria is that exceptional conditions are peculiar to the specific property. Staff here again believes this is met as the subject property is one of the first, if not the first, horizontal mixed-use developments here within the city. The fourth criteria is that exceptional conditions are not the result of actions of the property owner. Staff believes this is met as the plat and shared parking were created by the master developer. And the fifth criteria is that relief, if granted, would not cause substantial detriment to the public good, nor impair the purposes or intent of our zoning ordinance. Staff believes this is met as, based on the mix of uses within the center, it's anticipated that the overall center will be able to accommodate peak parking requirements based on the proposed mix of uses. So with that, staff does recommend approval of Mr. Terry's request, subject to conditions. The first is that site plan review is required. As I've stated, Mr. Terry is aware of that process and intends to submit for that shortly. The second condition is that a minimum of 108 parking spaces shall be provided on site. No parking shall be allowed on private streets within the development, and no parking signs shall be installed along Mountain Boulevard South to deter any on-street parking. The third condition is that parking spaces shall not be reserved for specific tenants or their employees, and then a maximum of 5 spaces may be reserved for takeout or pickup orders, or short visits of 15 minutes or less. And then the fourth condition is that the developer shall enter into a shared parking agreement that shall run with the land prior to site plan approval. So with that concludes my presentation.
Hey, was your optimal site plan less than 108? Sound like there was some conversations, maybe some negotiations back and forth, but do you have a number?
No, yeah, 108 is where we've been able to net out as just royal, it's like maximize the highest and best use of the building space. You can see in that site plan, one of the main factors is there's a common area, an amenity like a town plaza in the center of the complex. So that would be used for community gatherings, live music. It would be for field turf. So again, not to rehash the points I made earlier, but I passionately, strongly feel that's such a much better use of the space than having 19 additional, parking spots.
And for the benefit of the commission, if I may, I would like to state that since that is a common area, that is not included in the gross leasable area calculation. So we're not requiring Mr. Terry to park for that lawn. He only has to park for the leasable space within the center, not any common areas. Oh yes, well, not technically because he does have an outdoor patio, which was included in the calculation. But if it's not leasable by a tenant, if it's just a common area that's accessible to all of the tenants, he does not have to park on that.
Okay.
And is the common area where the additional spaces would have been? Like if we said no, you would have had to scrap the common area.
Yeah, potentially. There's a lot of just adjusting that has to be done from a civil engineering standpoint to try to figure out the best place to put the four corners of the building, essentially. So, we were getting as narrow as we could with the common area and being able to accommodate, the traffic flow and drive-through and the other, requirements. So we cut it down to the bare minimum we could.
Mr. Terry, you said that you almost have a complete parking agreement with Mr. Elias. How close are you to it?
It's probably 99%. I mean, there's a draft that planning and zoning has, and we were frankly kind of waiting on some other dependencies like this before moving forward. But the draft is there that outlines what Elizabeth said, that the intent is to share parking across the center.
Okay. Did we get a copy of that draft?
We did not furnish a copy of that in the staff report because it is a draft and it is a private agreement.
Okay.
But I can tell you that it's very robust. I did look at it and I believe that it meets, the intent of what we're looking for. And I've also separately spoken with Mr. Elias, who I think is working with Mr. McMahon, the owner of the two-story center in between. And they've also expressed to me their commitment, to be party to this agreement.
Okay. And I understand that. What do you think that you will be able to get that completed before the city council? As you know, we are an advisory board, but will you have that completed before they do their actual judgment?
With holiday schedules, I don't think we will.
It's listed as a condition, so it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, so we're happy for it to be a condition, but just given lawyer schedules.
Similar to, so when it goes through site plan review, we have stormwater agreements as well that says you're gonna clean your stormwater twice a year. These are things that we will get prior to site plan approval. So as Elliot indicated, this will be prior to site plan approval. So when we're gathering all of our documents to get this up and so that he can start doing that vertical work.
Okay.
We'll have everything in there.
And that agreement will be shared with the tenants, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
The reason I ask is I was in retail management for 25 years, and one of the biggest fights between the neighboring tenants was always parking.
Yeah.
Your people are parked in my spaces, and to go to somebody that's wanting to decrease the amount of parking is just sort of blowing my mind.
Yeah.
That we've only, when I've opened places as small as 1,000 feet, as big as 60,000 square feet, and you're always fighting over parking and somebody asking to reduce the amount of parking is just new and just,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, no, it will, I hear you on uplift. We are setting that expectation with the tenants. And then, this is also, as Elizabeth said, the first true mixed use center. So there's some outliers with trying to accommodate the residential and how do we effectively integrate, that pedestrian access as well as accommodate the traditional parking ordinances that I would argue are not the same as, Publix or a traditional, grocery anchor, center. So, but totally hear you on that, and we want to set that expectation with the tenants and, make sure they realize, what the final parking counts are and how that may impact them on a, negative, positive, basis.
It is,
What-
sorry.
Just another question or just comment. When parking gets tight, I think one of the first issues is where the employees are parking. They're there first. They usually, in some cases, take the best parking spot. So I don't know if that's part of your lease agreements. I know you said there wasn't going to be a designated employee parking spaces, but some direction I think would be beneficial to push them to park places that aren't primary.
Yep. It's a really good point. If you don't mind, Elizabeth, can you go back to the site plan? So almost for the very reason, one of the reasons, we have the drive-through in the location that it was, in the commercial space, in the commercial sector, just the line of sight and visibility is critical in giving the appearance of, where customers are supposed to park. And when we moved up the entire center, and we felt like the back of the center will now be, a great opportunity for employee parking, back there. And the second thing that we're really thinking hard about is how do we curate the right tenant mix so we stagger operating hours? So, that's important to keep this center vibrant from, morning to evening. We don't want, 10 restaurants with, that are all open for dinner only, So we think we've got a strategy to, bring in the right mix of tenants and, for, that very reason, like we want to think through, where the employee parking would go.
Where's the front of this? To the top or the bottom?
The front is
It's
where
the top, if you look.
closer to the gateway, where it says.
I recall, and maybe this is, I'm in the same property, but there was a site plan that I think you shared a while back that showed a dumpster in the front of the building. Is that, I don't see that anymore.
So that dumpster, if you look
Change.
at the northwest corner of the site, so if you're looking at the photograph, the bottom left, you can see that dumpster that's there. It has been reoriented, but that is considered a front yard. Again, bottom left of the site plan, if you see the square with the two refuse enclosures in it,
Yeah, but that's the back of the building, right?
well, but it's a front yard technically because it fronts on a public street.
But people will enter through the pub side.
Yes, the plan is that people will be entering closer to.
For some reason I thought that there was a dumpster out front.
There might have been one, Chris, to validate your point. I think that there was one. I believe it was moved to the, if you look on the bottom right, I think that was relocated.
That's good.
So that was a positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see on this page, spots designated for ADA. Do you have any plan to have spots designated specifically for golf carts, since you want this as a mixed use area, and since golf carts need a little less space? Then do you have designated spots, or will it be on the other property?
In the bottom left is where we're thinking of alternate parking, not buried.
Is that the lighter gray area?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of where that crosswalk is on or left, like below the load where goes for.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so just if you're looking at that driveway, on the west side of that driveway, where you can sort of see the sort of light concrete pad in between the refuse enclosure and the driveway.
Okay.
They're looking at maybe having just kind of the pad there for golf carts to park.
Then one of the things we've really tried to think through as well is you've probably seen now there's bicycle parking that almost look like sculptures and wherever pop-up bike locks can kind of go. We're thinking through where we can position those, which helps meet the sustainability requirements that would be required anyway, as well as just align with the overall vision that we want to accomplish.
Okay. I was just curious as well as, since it requires less space for golf carts, is that calculated into an official parking space towards the count?
No, the parking space requirements are strictly for 9 foot by 18 foot particular parking spaces. I don't see why a golf cart couldn't use that. I mean, if someone's coming in a golf cart, then they're not coming in a vehicle. But I don't want to get too deep into the golf cart conversation because I also don't know that golf carts are allowed. These are private roads, but I don't know that the city has allowed golf carts on private roads. So I don't want to get too far down in the...
Too far in the weeds.
Yeah, too far in the weeds, but yes. I see what you're saying. And we do anticipate, that people will try to use golf carts or scooters or whatever the modern mode of transportation is to get here. Bye-bye.
Does anyone in attendance have any questions or comment on this particular item? Okay, I'll need your motion, you think? I will make a motion to approve it with the, 4 conditions. So thank you, second.
I second that.
All right, all in favor? The committee votes to recommend this item with its 4 conditions. Thank you. All right, item number 4. Discuss request by applicant Ion Kearney on behalf of Gene Kent Holdings LLC, the owner of approximately 1.14 acres zone C2 general commercial located at 279 Confederate Avenue, parcel 030D096109, for a special use permit to allow for a manufacturing establishment involving the mechanical or chemical conversion of raw materials into semi-finished or finished products, millwork for cabinet manufacturing. Is anyone here with Gene Kent Holdings?
Yeah.
Would you like to come forward?
Next segment. Please, it's
Hello everyone. So actually, I'm the owner of the company True Craft Millwork LLC, which I'm representing also the Gene Kent Holdings as a director. We have actually a couple minutes I'm going to be able to represent them. So the idea for all this we're trying to do is just create, like I said, and mentioned with Elizabeth, everything we want to do is some millwork. It's just not a regular millwork, because we also have another cities where we do some stuff as well. But this one, it was created more to create like a high-end millwork, right? So we're doing the stuff which has required some clean areas, clean environment, and also all the space we're gonna occupy. We have to have a lot of different goals for us, right? So there is not typical what people use glue or some other stuff for the millwork. We're using all the natural stuff to just make this millwork stuff in life. Usually in our company, we do commercials only, hospitality, hotels, we do remodelings, new builds. We have a couple ideas that to bring to life there some other stuff, which is gonna be step by step. But the first point we think to get this millwork shop start here in this city, just because 2 single points I wanna mention. It's really super growing city, and it's really beneficial for us. It's kind of far, but it's beneficial for us to have all the roads going by, all the highways and everything. So I would ask if it's possible to get this thing moving forward so we can start working, get this business running. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, that was Ion Cormier. He's the proprietor of True Craft Millworks, who's the applicant this evening. All right. So again, Mr. Cormier is here requesting a special use permit to allow for custom woodworking on this property. So the subject property is located within the Mountain City Business Park, which is located south and east of the Walmart. As you're familiar from some requests we've had earlier this year, this area kind of has morphed into a pseudo kind of light industrial area with all the different warehousing and manufacturing uses that we have going on out here. The subject property is approximately 1.14 acres in size and is Zone C2 General Commercial. It is served by city water and sewer, and it has about 75 feet of frontage there at the Confederate Avenue cul-de-sac. And it is improved with an existing 5,250 square foot office and warehouse building. So the site context, so as I mentioned, the Mountain City Business Park accommodates numerous other similar or more intense manufacturing, warehousing, automotive, and business operations. Surrounding uses to this property include a vacant warehouse building to the north, Zone C2. To the east, we have some undeveloped property that actually fronts on Jonah Lane, that is Zone C2. To the south, there's another vacant warehouse building, Zone C2. And then to the west, on the other side of the cul-de-sac, we have more Auto Works, which is an auto restoration facility. So Mr. Cormier is here requesting a special use permit to allow for custom woodworking. So manufacturing of finished or semi-finished products from raw materials, such as making furniture or commercial art installations from wood, does require a special use permit in the C2 district. Again, this is just to ensure compatibility with surrounding uses. We want to make sure that there's no fumes or excessive noise or dust that's being generated by the operation. I do want to note that Mr. Cormier stated that he is not proposing any staining or chemical finishing on site at this time. I've got some stipulations memorializing what that would look like in the future, but he does not plan to do that at this time. I also would like to acknowledge for the record, you'll see here on the left side of the image that a paint booth was delivered to this facility, but I received photo confirmation from the applicants today that this was removed. It was basically just a temporary holding place, and that paint booth is being sent off-site to a different location. So I did want to show these examples kind of highlighting the custom furniture and millwork installations that are going to be constructed at the facility. I thought it was pretty cool, and I just kind of wanted to showcase some of the craftsmanship and cool exports that we have coming out of the city. You can see here on the top of the restaurant that kind of funky woodwork that they've got going there. So, they do this for the boutique hotels, and they do this all over the country. So it's kind of cool that, this is starting here in Jasper, and that we have, that kind of craftsmanship happening here in the city. So as part of the special use permit request, just like with the drive-thru, we evaluate this against the property's Pickens County Joint Comprehensive Plan designation. The subject property's land designation is Jasper Arterial Commercial Corridor, which promotes the free and efficient flow of traffic and goods. And staff believes that this proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan by providing a limited traffic commercial use that is adequately separated and insulated from any nearby residential development. So this, again, is to staff a very appropriate location for this use. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the special use permit subject to conditions. The first is that no staining or chemical finishing shall occur without the City of Jasper approved paint booth. This would include approval by the city's planning and development department with respect to its location on the property, as well as from the fire marshal with respect to fireproofing and ventilation. Outdoor storage shall be screened by an opaque fence not less than 6 feet in height. Again, with this property, I know there's some materials that are outside, but Mr. Cormier is committed that they will, get those screened in accordance with the approval. Employee parking shall be restriped and ADA parking and signage provided. As you may know, this is kind of an older center, so some of the parking striping is just kind of eroded away over the years. So we want to give it a refresh, and while we're at it, incorporate the accessibility component. The fourth condition is that a city business license is required prior to opening the business, which Mr. Cormier tried to apply for when we realized that he needed the special use permit. The fifth condition is that all new signage shall be approved by the city prior to installation, just kind of standard operating procedure. And then the sixth condition is the acknowledgement of the ongoing temporary suspension on new water and sewer. However, city staff has confirmed with utilities that this property does have an active water meter and that this use is allowed to move into the building. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody in the audience have any comments or questions?
So this is
State
next.
your name and
It's
address.
David Shouse, and I own the building next to it under Manitowoc. So a little backstory to this park, as we've cleaned it up, when you go down into the cul-de-sac, the 3 end buildings used to be owned by one business. That business had parking in all 3 buildings at one time, and there was never really an issue. That owner decided to break those buildings up and sell them a la carte. When he did so, and you look at the picture, especially the middle building, which is going to be a huge concern because it's 16,000 some odd square feet, which I would imagine is quite a few employees for a building that size. The one up in the top left is my building. I have a lot of outdoor parking. The building above mine, we put a steel shop in a couple months ago. They were in here for a variance. They now have tractor trailers coming down that are staging in the cul-de-sac, waiting to load onto their property. They are backing up into their property and loading, but I come in and my driveway is blocked to get inside my building, waiting on 18-wheelers to leave. My question, not really, because I think we're going to have a problem on the center building in the cul-de-sac, because I think he's probably going to try to lease that out. We're going to be back in here on another variance, because I don't think he has any parking. But my question to they've been good neighbors, when I've met them, is how many total employees are you looking at having, and do you have the ample parking to handle that? Because I think you've seen what I've seen with these tractor trailers down there, and can you load and unload without using the cul-de-sac? Because when they come in, it's just becoming a real bottleneck down there. And I think I've owned since 2000. I forget how many buildings total in there I've owned, but we cleaned the park up. But I've owned that one, I think, since 16. And in the last couple of months, it's really become an ordeal to get into the cul-de-sac and into your building.
Yeah, this I got your point. I mean, the idea is the warehouse is not so big, so we can produce so much stuff to get an 80-wheelers there. So honestly, the biggest truck we may have to take out and bring the stuff, it will be the box truck or whatever, right? And then we have on the back, if you saw there is a loading dock, so anything which comes to us, basically there is a loading dock, and we're not gonna basically block anything, so we should be good at that. And hopefully, like if we're gonna bring them some materials, but as well, we're trying to get only with our box truck and get, because this furniture, we're not trying to make a bulk product, we're making only the special use small furniture, but really expensive one. So like really, good quality with it.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. So we won't have any issues.
I think it's more, I was bringing it to your attention that center building is really going to be a problem. And because even last week when I came in, you guys weren't in the way, but there was an 18-wheeler in between my building and your building, and another 18-wheeler came in and pulled across my private concrete pad and then dropped off of it, which is eventually going to crack so that's when I started paying attention, when I seen that 18-wheeler shooting across the front of my building. So there's some issues down there in the cul-de-sac that might start rendering some phone calls.
Oh yeah, good man. But you're talking about those 2 buildings, the big ones, right?
Yeah.
Each one.
Yeah, you've got, I think one time I saw you in the cul-de-sac, but it was only because there was an 18-wheeler down there and you couldn't get your box truck in there, so.
Yeah.
Questions on this?
Mr. Cormier?
Yep.
If you are not familiar with our variance process, we have a 1-2 step, where the first step, the second step will be at City Hall. City Council, Mr. Looney, who usually sits in this seat, is going to ask a very common question, which I'm about to ask to you as well, that do you understand these staff recommendations that are being added to your applicant, and do you agree to those recommendations?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what we have to do. There's no other options. So the ADA requirements, which is, like I said, we work with the commercials, and I know all the stuff, we do commercial remodeling the new builds, and I know all the parking spaces, all the signage, all the permit processings, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm familiar with all these kind of things. Not in this city, but I got it. So yeah, we'll follow all the recommendations how we're supposed to be.
What?
Does anybody else in the audience have any questions for the council or for the person requesting variance? Do I hear a recommendation? I will make a motion to approve with the 6 conditions listed.
I will second.
Very good. All in favor? But they have number 4 with all recommendations, all 6 of them. For record will be passed on to the committee as recommendations. Okay. Right. Do you hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I would make a motion to adjourn. Another second.
All in favor?
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Ethel. Adjourn 6:56.